the La Ropa had on. Do you guys remember these? I was like so obsessed with these like right out of high school, like 2019. La Ropa's still hard though. Here we go. 3 hard truths holding clothing brands back from being successful. This video should make your thought pattern like about having a clothing brand actually become forward thinking instead of behind. Somebody in my last video said, thank God I subscribed to you because there's definitely a new era for clothing brands. And it definitely is. A lot of the old clothing brand, like people who were making 300K, whatever the fuck a year, even more, you could tell, like even La Ropa, I'm not saying they fell off, but you can see there's a switch on how they have to produce content. It's completely new. And if you don't understand how to do it, it's going to be hard for you to succeed throughout, right? So, first one, thinking of content strategies with short-term spurts. Stop thinking of a content strategy as a run, stop. Your content strategy is a storyline that has chapters the customer can always follow. A lot of clothing brands do this shit. It's so annoying. You cannot think of your content strategy as something that you make up. You make up a totally different thing every single time you post. That's not how content strategy works. You want a content strategy, one of your base content strategies, because I believe you should have more than one. You want it to have a base and then things that go away from it, somewhat like is that a Venn diagram? A bubble map, a mind bubble map. You know those things you used to do in school? Circles, lines, you write, circle, line, you write. You want it to have a flow like that because consistency with content is key, right? But most clothing brand owners post content, new ideas type vibe. They do the new ideas plus more without thinking about how it flows to the customer. So what I'm saying is they post the content and it's like a whole new thing. And then they post it again, it's a whole new thing. And they keep posting it's a whole new thing. And this keeps happening. There's no consistency. You're breaking the relationship that you're trying to create with your customer. That relationship only happens with a storyline and consistency. This is why I tell people all the time, you cannot keep making content like the customer is just like, oh shit, I want to see something new from them. They follow you from the consistency that they give you. Just like a human being, you have to be consistent with them to keep a relationship, right? So that's what you're doing. So when it comes to content, be consistent with it. Obviously, you want new shit to be a part of it, but you still have to have the same content style and content ideas. That's why I'm always telling you to repeat yourself. Repeat yourself. People are not paying attention as much as you think. Like I said in the last video, people are literally fucking dumb. Think dumb in the sense of they are scrolling so much all day. They will never understand if you are fucking with them when it comes to content because they are scrolling so much. The average person is just doing this all day through breaks, at night, whatever. They're doing it all day. So they don't understand if you're doing something like repeating yourself. Blah, 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 blah. That repeating yourself is making them feel a connection because all they do is scroll all day. So within your content, have a flow. I'm not telling you, I'm going to repeat this because a lot of people, they're like, what? That's right. Like, y'all go that far? But it's like, obviously you can think of new ideas. No one's telling you not to think of new ideas, right? All I'm saying is, when you're creating those new ideas, it has to be consistent. The story has to be there. I'm going to show you an example of people doing this bad. Instagram Reels right now has this thing with clothing brand owners. They're like stealing clothes, or the clothes are getting stolen, and they're like throwing shit on the car. Like, it was cool at first. That was like the first one I seen. That one was cool. And then they have like the newspaper one where like they're throwing up newspapers. Newspapers are on the wall. I don't know what they're doing, right? It's okay. But the whole Instagram Reel situation is a perfect example of throwing off your timeline. Literally think of your shit like Avengers Thanos type vibe, if you've ever seen it. Most of us have, right? So imagine Thanos is fucking with this timeline. You are fucking with your content strategy when you do random shit. You cannot do random shit in a timeline. The timeline has to flow, so at the end, you could get the purchase. That's the game. That's what keeps them coming back, because they feel like they're missing out on something. They feel like there's something next that they have to see. So if you don't do that, that's your problem, because you're fucking with their mind state and shit. Like, they're already scrolling all day. Give them something tangible that they could attach themselves to. You are that. Creating a content strategy, right? not understanding how customers think. Again, it's going back to the customer. A lot of times, brand people are not successful because they don't give a fuck about their customers. Let me tell you something. What I mean by give a fuck, I'm not saying like you, like kumbaya ass shit. I'm saying like, you are not getting in their head. Purchasing things, buying things is very psychological. It really is. The only things that are not really, yes, actually it is. Everything is psychological when it comes to buying. There is a reason why you have to go buy toilet paper. What is the reason? You cannot wipe your ass, right? There's a reason why you go buy paper towels. You're not going to be able to dry your hands or pick up a spill. There's a reason why you have to keep buying. Well, not a lot of people buy plastic cups, but I buy plastic cups, right? Sorry, Earth. I buy plastic cups. There's a reason I do it. I don't like washing dishes. If you think there's not a psychological aspect of buying toilet paper to wipe your ass, you're crazy, right? Or maybe I'm just being funny. I don't know. Customers have brand worlds that they follow, right? You have a brand world in your head that you follow. It could be things in your room. It could be things at home with you, right? But you follow it. These brand worlds are consistent of things that they have seen since they were a literal child. Think about every brand that you love since you were a child. That shit sticks. It sticks in your head, right? That also causes that form of nostalgia that everyone's super into right now. If your brain is doing that, that means as a owner, as a curator, it's your duty to create and understand that customers always want to add another brand that is worthy of their brand world. Think of it like Barbie's Dream House or Ken's, what was it? Ken's Dollhouse? Whatever the fuck. Barbie's Dream House, everything she ever wants in it. My Barbie Dream House would have Loro Piana, The Row, it would have Bottega, it would have Goyard, it would have Mason Margiela, it would have Alexander McQueen, vintage Alexander McQueen, it would have vintage CDG, it would have ERD. That would be my Barbie Dream House, right? So if that's my Barbie Dream House, and I have a brand that's new, and then they are curating to all of the things I love in my Barbie Dream House, and they're showing me that they have the same interest as me, that interest is going to make me communicate with them, right? I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I've loved this since I was a child. Or, oh my gosh, that reminds me of this. Or, OMG, that's kind of what I think in my head. The way they're combining scenarios together. I've been talking about scenarios, right? And then that communication turns into engagement. And when you start engaging with a brand, you're usually going to make a sale. So stop thinking of your customer as this person just buying shit. No one's just buying shit. They're buying it for something. If they can say like, oh, it's for my birthday, or I graduated, or stuff like that, it's also for another reason. Like, because having a graduation gift, and you're like, my graduation gift, most kids, like when they graduate for like a 4-year, that's not most kids. Some kids, when they graduate from like a 4-year university, they get like a Rolex, right? That means throughout this time, this kid waiting for this Rolex, and the Rolex doesn't have to be a Rolex. Think of it as your customer is at that 4-year university and they need something at the end. Think of the 4-year university as your content strategy. They're fucking with you. They have interests, right? They have interests. If they like Rolex, that means they may like vintage Cartier. If they like vintage Cartier, they may like Richard Mille. If they like Richard Mille, they may like AP, right? So if they have all these things that are giving them interest, you start communicating with them when you tell them and give them scenarios like why you want this watch. Why is this watch cool? The history behind this watch. The history behind that. That's your content strategy. That's the meat, right? And then they're going to start communicating back to you. I want this one. I would rather have that one. That shit sucks. This is that. And then after that communication keeps going, you're at that final year at university. The engagement. They're going to start going to your website. They're going to start actually picking through the content that's more like product related and seeing what you have. That's that engagement that you want. Then after they're done with that, they're going to buy it. That's how you want to think about this shit. For your university, interest, communication, engagement. That's how it flows. The last thing, and I talk about this in Motive a lot. I speak on it heavy because it's something that I really want everyone to think about. 2024 and on, being an owner, a clothing brand owner, will not work. Because all the clothing brand owners, they do the same exact shit. I'm going to read it to you. They create for themselves. As a consumer, I don't give a fuck what you create. Why? Because if it's not created for me, why should I care? Right? They create content for the clothing brand. You cannot see this one pisses me off. You cannot create content for your clothing brand. And what I mean by that, so much product based content. Content talking about having a clothing brand. Content focused on the pieces you're dropping. Content just focused on just having a clothing brand. Pieces I'm dropping, me as a clothing brand owner, da da da. No, we're not working like that. That's bad. Making content is they're in a clothing brand owner's head. And I'm saying clothing brand owner, even though you are a clothing brand owner. I'm just talking about it in the sense. I'm talking about it in the mindset sense, because it's a mindset, right? So in a mindset and action that need to come into play so you could become a curator instead of a clothing brand owner. Can't wait till a clothing brand owner that's big says they're a curator. I'm pretty sure they have said that before. I think actually fashion brands by houses are definitely curators. I wouldn't even think they would consider themselves a owner of a brand, right? You're curating it. You're creating it from things that you know the customer would love, right? Making content equals sold out. No. Just because you sat down and used a couple things, a couple tools, just because you created 3 TikToks, you're like, oh, I'm going to sell out. Are you good? You're not selling out shit. So that's the owner mindset. That mindset is fucking horrible. We need to stop this mindset. We need to come over here to do the curator. The curator creates for the customer. I'm creating this piece for the customer. If you are the curator of a brand, that means you have the same interest as the customer, meaning that you are creating for yourself, because you should be a customer. Right? Right. You hear what I'm saying? Right. Okay. I hope we're on the same page, because this one right here seems like that's the hardest for people to go through. Like, obviously, a lot of clothing brand owners are like this too. The ones that I've worked with, the ones I've talked to, they're always it's the same thing. But like, I want to create this. I'm like, but does the customer want that? Doesn't seem like it. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, I know. Next to-do list, babe. So, content for customers' brand. If you are creating them, that means that they have their own personal brand within your brand, within your clothing. They have their own personal brand within it. That's why I always go back to brand world. Their brand world is their personal brand. So you make content for their brand world, the customer's brand, right? That's what you make content for. And their brand world has a lot of products, ideas, way of thinking, all within that. So you tap into that when it comes to making content. Interest-based connection through content equals sold out. I just explained interest-based connection through content before. That's what's going to sell you out. When you tap into what they like, what they dislike, what they want from you, because what they've seen in the past. That's how you make people sell the shit out. So if you could figure out, as a clothing brand curator, if you could figure out how to fix all these things that you're doing wrong for your brand, or even implement these things, I truly believe that you will have a successful clothing brand. Figure out how you could add these three truths, instead of making them hard truths, make them a truth that is actually embedded into your brand. Once you do that, just see how it's so easy to organize things. That's also another thing. Clothing brand owners are so bad at organization. And the only clothing brand owner that I know that's not bad at that, they're a girl. So, the boys, get more tidy with your brand. Become type A with it. And you'll see some improvements. Fix your shit, guys.